Welcome back to the continuation of our LinkedIn clone using Ionic Angular and Nest.js. In this video, we'll focus on the front end and we'll be dealing with error handling. So if I just refresh the page here and I go ahead and I log in, we can see that we've got this error here. And if I refresh that again, we get the error code, no post to retrieve, and then we get this bug symbol to dismiss. And if I click this, they'll dismiss the bug. And we also get handling of the no post component, or the all post component in the case that there's no posts. So what I've done is I've gone to the database and I've deleted all the posts, and we will set up some generic error handling on the front end so that we can handle our errors. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start by cding into the API and running an npm run start :dev to get the server going. And I will also cd into the front end, into the LinkedIn project, and I will run an Ionic serve, and that should get the front end going. Now we'll be working exclusively in the front end. And what I want to do is just look at the folder structure here. Inside of the app folder, we have an auth and a home module. Now I'm going to add another module or another section here, and I'm going to call it core. Similar to the backend video, the core folder represents files that can be in any project, whereas if you have a shared folder, that might signify that that can be handled within the application. So you might have a header, for example, in multiple pages, but that header is exclusive to your particular application, whereas a more generic stuff like error handling and API requests and stuff like that, they're going to be in every project, so we can put this in core. And of course, this is all just personal preference. You can put this wherever you want. But we're going to start off by making an error handler service .typescript. And we can see right now we don't have an image, so let's just go ahead and get an image here. But more importantly, we've got this component here, and it's just a big white square or rectangle, and that's because there's no post in the database, and whilst there is error handling on the back end, so we're getting back the particular empty array. In this particular case, we want more general error handling, so we're returning back the data that we want and presenting it in a nice way in the UI. So let's just go ahead and work on our class here. So we're going to have a class, and we'll call it the error handler service. And we can give it this decorator of injectable. Comes from Angular core, and it just takes an object, and we can just say provided in root, and that will be accessible all throughout our application. We don't need to declare in the module, just a simple service. So what I want to do here is I want a way to handle an error, and I want it to be generic. So if I take a look at the all post component, so in home, in components, in all posts, if I scroll down to where we're getting the posts, we're calling this get selected posts. So I can F12 here into the post service, and essentially what I want to do here is in the method where we're getting the post, so get selected post here, we can tell the return type because it's in here, the post array, and that in TypeScript implies the type there, or you could put observable post array there as well, but it's implied. But we can actually go ahead and we can pipe into this observable, and we can say, okay, well, firstly we're going to tap, and what tap allows us to do is it gets the response that we're expecting, so the post, which is of the type post array, and we can do something with this. And basically right now we just want to detect if there's any posts. So we can say if the post has a length equal to 0, we can just go ahead and we can throw a new error here, and we can just say no post to retrieve. So this will throw the error, but we obviously need to handle the error. And there's another pipeable operator that we can use here, and we can use the catch error. So we're explicitly throwing an error because we're going to handle it here in the catch error. And that error and this error message does indeed get passed into the catch error. And what we can do here is we can start to work on a method that we can pass in this particular function name, but our error handler service will be able to pass in any of the functions that are called throughout the application that deal with HTTP, and it can give the particular type, so in this case a post array, and it can also return a default value because we have an empty array if there's some sort of error that's been thrown for the no post retrieve. So we want to handle that gracefully by just returning an empty array. If we weren't handling an empty array, we could get some sort of errors and it will impact on the user experience. So let's just go ahead and import this control period from RxJS operators. Now we do need to firstly write the method. So in the error handler service, what I'm going to do is I'm going to handle the error, and basically we're going to have a particular operation, and if that's not specified, we'll just say operation, and that operation just relates to what the function is that called it. So we might say get selected post, the method name is the operation, and we could say something like get selected post didn't work. Or if that's not passed in, we just say the operation didn't work. And we can also have a result here, and this may be null, but it could be the type that we're after. And to use this generic type in our function here, we just need to say in the angled brackets next to the function name that it's going to be a generic function because it's going to handle a generic argument. And then we can just have our code block here. So in this case, if we give back an empty array, that is going to be of the type post array, whereas in other circumstances we might not be turning an array, we might have a number or a string, and then this result won't need to be passed in because it would just revert to the null case. So what we want to do here is we can say we can return something here, and we know that we're getting an error because we're going to call this service here. So I might go ahead and inject this into the constructor here. So private error handler service, and I'll just make this a lowercase e and bring in that service. And that allows us to go to our method here in the catch error, and we can say this error handler service, and then we can call the service, so handle error. And even though we're not passing in the error directly, the fact that this is a in the catch error, the error will be present in the function that's calling it. So we see we got this operation here and this result of the generic type here. So in this particular case, what we want to do is we can say, okay, we want to handle an error for this post array. And if we go ahead and just type in the name of the method for the operation that we want to handle, and in this case we do want to just pass in an array here. So it can default to an array, an empty array, or there's no post in the case that the post length is equal to 0. And so we throw the error, we catch the error, we handle the error, and since we have the error, we can go ahead and we can return, and for the error that got passed in, and this can be of any type here, we can say we want to give back an observable of the generic type. So in this case it's going to be a post array, but of course you can be calling this function anywhere for any of your methods here. Now we'll have to bring in observable, and this is just going to be an arrow function here. And we can say, we can just have a message console log, or let's make it a console warn. And then we can have our template literal syntax here. And then we can say the operation, whatever that was, failed. Let's go ahead and get the error message, and remember the error message is coming through the catch error where we threw the error and in as an argument here. And we've used the operation of the name of the function, and we don't need to log out the result. And I'm just going to have a little note here as like a to-do, remove in production, because we don't want any console logs in production, but we do want to just see what this is doing for us. And then finally what we'll do here is we're going to return an observable, which is going to just be the result as the generic type that's specified. And we can just go ahead and save this here. Now we are getting an error in the post service, so let's investigate that. So let's see here, where's the constructor? We got the error handler service. Alright, is this an old error? I'm just going to rerun this. So I've just recompiled, and now we can see that we're getting this get selected post failed, no post to retrieve. Now while I'm here, I'm just going to delete these other logs because they seem to be getting in the way a little. So I'm just going to search for my 888 log and remove that. And I'll also search for my 33 log, and I'll just remove that, and I'll just make it a little easier to follow while we're looking in the logs. So let's go ahead and just reload this. And we can see as this warning here, we can see get selected post failed, no post to retrieve. So that's cool. Now what we want to do is we want to display a pop-up here. So let's go ahead and go to our error handler service. Now I will say that I'm going to use the toast controller from Ionic, and you might want to refactor this into its own area, like a toast service or something like that, and then use that globally. I'm just going to use it specifically within this error handling component, so I'm just going to write it here. But of course you could make things more abstract if you are working on a larger project and refactor things a little nicer, but I'll leave that up to you. So we can just go ahead and we can just get the toast controller in from Ionic Angular. So that means in the constructor we've injected that. So we can go ahead and we can, what I want to do is I want to have a function, and it needs to be async because we're going to need to await for something. And what I want to do is, since I have this error message, when this operation is executed and is returned, so this observable of the generic type, what I want to do is I want to display the toast. So basically I want to pipe into this observable here, and that allows me to use the tap operator if you import it from RxJS. And what we can do here is we can say this dot present toast, and I'm going to pass in the error message here like this, just the error message we got that we created ourselves. And let's see here, pipe tap, I think I'm missing a bracket or something. So tap this, all right. And then of course we need to add as a parameter the error. So I'm just going to say the error message is going to be of a string. And then we can open up our code block here. Now we have our parameter set and our argument passed in to the function. And we can say, all right, we want our toast, and we need to await the creation of the toast from the toast controller. And there's a create method there, which takes in an object, and you can give it a header, and we'll just say error occurred. And of course you could put this into its own component if you wish, or its own service, pass in more arguments and reuse it. You can have a message here, so error message. Now I'm going to have a default duration of 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds. I'm going to give it the red color. So in Ionic you have the danger, warn, primary, tertiary, and those sorts of things. And then I'm going to have a button in case you see the message and you want to cancel it before the duration is up. So this button, or buttons, because you can have multiple, takes in an object, and it could take in multiple objects if you had more than one. There's a bunch of these parameters defined in the Ionic documentation for the toast. And basically I just want to have the bug icon here. I want to have the text of dismiss with the role of cancel, and that takes care of just closing things up for us. And we've awaited for this toast, but then we just need to present it. So we wait for that to be created, and then we can just say, okay, well, we want to present it. And when we are handling an error, we pass in the error message, creates the toast, and then it displays it for us. So now we see we've got this error occurred, no post to retrieve, and we've got this dismiss button here. We can click that, and then that removes that for us. So I just want to clean some things up. If we go to the or post component. So Control P, or post component. One thing I want to just add here is I just want to say if the allowed if all of the loaded posts has a length greater than 0, display it. So now that we've got no post here, we're not displaying this white block here. And of course we could create a post here and then delete it. So that's that. And in the or post component in the TypeScript, rather than having this error and console log error message, and we'll see that this subscribed, it's a deprecated version of subscribe, meaning passing in this error here as a second argument. We can just go ahead and we can delete this here. Then we get our IDE showing our text a little nicer, and we can just go ahead and we can save that. And that pretty much wraps up the video. So we've got error handling here, we can dismiss it, and we can create posts. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. In the next video I'm going to work on testing, both on the back end and on the front end. So if that's something you're interested in, please stay tuned for the series, and thanks so much for watching. Cheers, I'll see you in the next one.